First appearance of Lobo. Apparently he's not named. I had forgotten that, but when I was looking at the notes, and it said about his his childhood or whatever. And so origin was the. Hi, I'm Glenn Simpson, and I've collected comics for over 40 years, and I'm showing off my collection one box at a time. Today, we're looking at box number 119. We're going to start off with some official indexes. We're going to do Old Man this, Old Man that, some OMAC, Omega Men, Onslaught, Original this, and Original that, and end up with some Outsiders among a few other things. So glad you're here. Please like and comment and subscribe. Those are great things that help the channel. But hey, let's get started with box 119 here on Glenn Simpson's Comics. Okay, so picking up where we left off last time, we have the official Hawkman index. And if you weren't here last time, I explained that, back in the day, back in the 80s, when we didn't have Wikipedia, if you wanted to know everything about an old comic book, this was your really only recourse. Was somebody sat down and did a publication like this that for each issue in question outlined the title, the number, the name of the stories, who the creatives were, who the characters were, and what happens in the story. These were pretty neat because they really tried hard to say, okay, each character had appeared last in this story and appeared next in some other story. So it was what you did, and so they did a variety of these. And so we have the official Hawkman index from Independent Comics Group. That's issue 1 through issue 2. We've got Howell, forgetting his first name, doing the covers here, and he had done the recent Shadow War of Hawkman and the other Hawkman, the last Hawkman pre-Crisis series. So, and this was before Hawkman's history got really confusing. So that wasn't as much to deal with then. Then we have the official Justice League of America index, and it does the same thing with Justice League of America. If this cover is at all familiar, they recently repurposed it for the month where they did a bunch of variants of George Perez sketches. Well, I'm sorry, they used the postcard artwork they had done for a series of postcards for the most part, but then they also leveraged this artwork for that as well, since it had never been published by DC itself, I guess was the theory. But this is issue 1 of that, and then of course we lose Perez at some point. Issue 4 right there. Then issue 5, we've got Joe Stanton doing the cover, and issue 8, it's got Luke McDonnell, who actually had drawn the last little arc of Justice League of America. So he literally came back and drew a cover for the stuff indexing what he had drawn the first time. Then we've got the official Teen Titans index. Unfortunately, no Perez art on here, but this was I was such a big Teen Titans fan. I'm pretty sure I had figured out like 90% of the Teen Titans appearances, because I had decided I wanted to own all of them, but I think I had missed a few, and this was invaluable for finding out what I needed in that area. So it starts off with the 1960s Teen Titans, and will make its way all the way through New Teen Titans and up to a certain point in the 80s Teen Titans series. So let's go. That's issue 1. So it by the time it ends, we've got Jericho, we've got Terra. I don't remember what the last issue is that it does. I think it does all the way through. I think it's got some of the second New Teen Titans series in it. I don't remember. But yeah, it goes pretty far. With issue 5 of that. Alright, and then for something completely different. So over at Marvel, they had their Old Man Logan series, and so DC had done their parody of that with old Lady Harley. She appeared in one issue of the regular series, and so they gave her a 5-issue miniseries, Old Lady Harley from a dystopian future. Issue 1 through issue 5, right there. Speaking of Old Man Logan, now this is I've just got the Secret Wars tie-in, Old Man Logan. I think there's another series that follows him. This is, again, a Logan from an alternate timeline where he was tricked into killing all of the X-Men, and so he's very similar in some ways to the one from Deadpool and Wolverine. He's kind of given up and that kind of thing. So that's issue 1 through issue 5. There. And we've got OMAC. So I don't have any original OMAC, but OMAC as a concept was a guy who could be transformed into, a regular guy, Buddy Blank, I believe was his name, who could get transformed into a huge warrior by a satellite that would infuse him with power, zap him with power, that he could talk to. It had an artificial intelligence, and he could, it was always in his ear, and he could talk to it. And so that general concept, and it took place in a future, so it was not something that's, set in the present. There was that concept keeps getting rolled out, and in one case, OMAC was the satellite was built by Batman, kind of as a precaution that it got hijacked, and Batman needs to quit doing things like that. But anyway, in this case, it was controlling a whole army of sleeper agents, if I remember correctly. So and this all led up to can't remember. I think this is after Infinite Crisis. Yeah, this is Brave New World. So, but it was this concept was involved in Infinite Crisis. So issue 1 through issue 8. There. Then in the New 52, they brought the concept back. We went back to just the idea of a guy who is given the ability to turn into this, super strong rage monster as need be, and Keith Giffen doing the art, and so it was very kind of Hulkish kind of a story. Dan Didio doing the writing, and we have issue 1 through issue 8. It was among the series that didn't quite make it past the first 8 months of the New 52. He would show up in a couple of places. Then we have this OMAC, which is historically, chronologically, in terms of publication, comes before those. This one, technically, in the indicia, is OMAC One Man Army Corps, so it's got a little bit longer. It's got something after the OMAC part of the title. So, you know me. So John Byrne coming in and doing it as a 4-issue. This is more what the original Jack Kirby OMAC looked like. Right there, I've got issue 1 through issue 4 right there. Then we've got this Infinite Crisis, this OMAC project. That this is more of what. So there was a mini series called the OMAC project that I wound up getting in trade. That's why it's not in here. But then after the trade paperback, after the mini series, after Infinite Crisis, then they did these one-shots, and I did end up getting the one-shots. And this is kind of continuing that story of the version of the satellite built by Batman that takes over, becomes sentient or whatever, and gets out of hand. There. So then we go to a different Omega. Or we go to the first Omega, right? Omega Flight. So the first time we had ever heard of Omega Flight was in the Alpha Flight book, and the idea was you had different tiers of superheroes in this government organization. But this is a little different. This is still, I believe, Canadian, but which, yes, it includes U.S. Agent in a Canadian supergroup, but this is a team put together. I believe it says it's part of the Initiative, which was the situation where the Registration Act had gone through, and all superheroes were had to register and be organized, and all kinds of stuff like that. So Omega Flight issue 1 through issue 5. This, of course, is including Beta Ray Bill, the alien Thor. There. And we have, fresh off the press, we have Omega Kids from the recent Age of Revelation series. We've got a 3-issue series. Quentin Quire in the future is teaching this band of young psychics how to use their powers on behalf of Revelation, their leader, and things get out of hand. Issue 1 through issue 3 right there. Then we have one of the more famous Omegas, Omega Men. So this started off as they first appeared over in an issue or 2 of Green Lantern, and Marv Wolfman came up with this idea for a team in outer space, the Vega system, which is, I guess, kind of a section of space that hadn't been explored by the other spacefaring groups. And like a lot of these cosmic groups, they were kind of slaves or fighting a rebellion, and they all came together to do that. And so they appeared over there, they appeared over in Superman, they appeared in New Teen Titans, and then they ended up with their own book. So that's issue 1 right there through issue 2. Now, the other thing that's quite famous about Omega Men is that it is issue 3 is the first appearance of this guy. Lobo. First appearance of Lobo. Apparently he's not named. I had forgotten that, but when I was looking at the notes, and it said first appearance of Lobo not named. So I guess in the next issue he actually gets his name. So he's not wearing his traditional leathers. He first shows up in this sort of orange and purple skin-tight suit, but by golly, hey, he's Lobo. So this is a big boy book that everybody is aware of. But that's mostly the rest of Omega Man is not overly hyped, if you will. We've got issue 4 there. We've got through issue 8. There we go. We're free. They used a lot of the same sort of area of space that they had used for Starfire's origins as well. So they're fighting, the Gordanians and things like that. Got issue 9. There. Through issue 12. And 13. The return of Primus's Eye. Well, good. Good for him. Issue 13. I think I remember this issue 16. It's like it has nothing to do. Sorry, I'm grabbing something here. It's like it has nothing to do with the main storyline, and I really think it was something that they wrote and drew for some other, sci-fi book, and it went in a drawer, and they were like, let's publish this. So, but it's a very special issue. Issue 16. Issue 17. Really interesting cover there. There. Through issue 20. The Scions. The Scions were the ones who experimented on Starfire and Blackfire and gave them their zappy powers. Because most Tamaranians can only fly. They can't all zappy zap. 21. We have what looks like a sequel to the other story, except it's a different writer, which is weird. But anyway, maybe it's a different writer and just the same artist, but it's may not be a sequel. But, issue 21. 24, Kevin O'Neill with his rather jagged art style. I believe he's one of the British folks who came over to work for DC at the same time as Alan Moore and all those guys. Brian Boland and Alan Davis. 25. We get the advent of Sean McManus on the book, who he'll be on it for a while, and this is what I tend to think of Sean McManus is on Omega Man, this kind of cartoony style. Issue 25. Through issue 28. There. Issue 29. The appropriately named Tigor. It's like, yeah, of course his name is Tigor. He's an alien, has nothing to do with Earth. His name just happens to be Tigor. The cat guy. Issue 32. Dan Spiegel art for you Dan Spiegel fans, as seen in he drew some Nemesis and Blackhawk. 33. I believe this was entirely always just direct sales only. So this was a time when comics were still being sold on newsstands and grocery stores and convenience stores and things like that, but not Omega Man. It was always just in comic shops. 33. 36. People are paying a little bit more for 37, and I'm not sure why, other than It says the description is Bedlam versus Lobo and partners. This might be the first like solo Lobo story as a backup in here. Don't quote me on that. See, question mark. And 38 is the final issue of the original Omega Man series. There. They have a couple of annuals. Omega Man Annual 1. Very much kind of early superhero-y kind of thing. Annual 2. Where more towards the end, where things have gotten really weird. So then in, what is this, 06, we brought back the concept. I think there's another, I think there was either one before this or after this, and after this, but not the next one I have. I think there's an Omega Man series I just don't have. I could be wrong on that, but they just gave it another shot. We've got all these characters being updated. Tygore's got a cigar now. Issue 1 through issue 6. There. Then, what is this? In 2015, they bring it back. It's Tom King, and it's kind of a weird. It's very much the Tom King being Tom King, and it apparent he has a background in the CIA, and so I believe he's drawing on some of his experiences in the depiction of this war that's being revisited here, and that kind of thing. So issue 1, everything kind of looks like a propaganda poster. It's issue 6. The series brought back Kyle Rayner as Green Lantern as well. Issue 7. They came for us, they will come for you. Through issue 12, the end of that series. Then in the 70s, there was a series called Omega the Unknown, and it kind of ran for, I don't know, 8 to 12 issues, and then it died. And it actually, the storyline in Omega the Unknown had to be finished over in the Defenders, but there came a day when they decided to revisit it, kind of a less traditional comic book artist in this Farrell Dalrymple, and I got the first issue in a dollar box at some point, and it did not catch my imagination at all, so that's actually all I wound up getting on that. We have One Star Squadron. So this is a humor book. I don't want to be one of those guys who's like, oh, everything needs to be serious, but this was just kind of a waste of time, really. It's this, the idea being that these heroes kind of all work for a service where you can, contact them if you need a superhero, and we've got the Heckler and Power Girl and Red Tornado and Firehawk, Flying Fox, and they just, it's kind of an office comedy, and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, I don't think anybody is, it doesn't sort of count, if you will. But hey, if you just want to read some funny stuff, One Star Squadron may be your bag. It's issue 1. through issue 6. I hung in there in hopes, you know, because I really want Red Tornado. I really like Red Tornado. I want him to get some, wanted him to get some play time, but it didn't really wasn't good play, if you will. So then we have One World Under Doom, the very recent crossover. We had the Blood Hunt vampires trying to take over the world, and Dr. Doom tricks Doctor Strange into giving his Sorcerer Supreme title over to Doom, and Doom does away with the vampires, but then he hangs on to that power and takes over the world, and it gets into questions about authoritarianism and what happens when a leader is actually doing good things. What do you do when they're an authoritarian but they're doing reasonably good things? Do you let it go, or do you fight it because it's not, they weren't elected or anything? So that kind of thing. So anyway, issue 1 got a variant cover through issue 4, and this is, I picked up the Alex Ross Timeless cover of Nighthawk, as seen in the Defenders series of the 70s. So there you go. One of those that has nothing to do with the book inside. Issue 5. It does have something to do with the book inside. And it all ends in issue 9. I picked up all these Streetverse books. I've told this story several times here on the channel, but when I was in my 20s, I was convinced that the way to save comics was to get rid of all the skin-tight costumes and go with something more it would still be distinctive, but it would be regular clothes that somebody might actually wear. And so in honor of my young adult goofiness, I got all of these Streetverse variants when they came out. Alright, so then from One World we go to Onslaught. So, and these are kind of alphabetical, so they're not in order that things happened, but overall Charles Xavier and gets in a big old fight with Magneto, and he uses his psychic powers to zap Magneto, and the result is an actual being that is created called Onslaught, and Onslaught tries to take over the world, as you do, and the major Marvel heroes have to band together to stop Onslaught, and along the way they are thought to be dead, but they actually entered a sort of a little pocket dimension that was created by Franklin Richards, and that was the Heroes Reborn titles that were done by Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld and those people. And then they all come back out of that, and then but the Onslaught will pop back up every once in a while. So, but I believe this is the epilogue to the original story in a one-shot there. Then we've got, let's see, so yeah, we've got Onslaught Marvel Universe. So most of the story had been taking place over in the X-Men books, but so this was like a one-shot showing how it was spreading into the rest of the Marvel Universe. Fantastic Four, Franklin Richards, that kind of thing. Both sides of that. Then years later, we got Onslaught Reborn. It's kind of Rob Liefeld doing some art on revisiting the whole concept there, issue 1 through issue 5 of that. They just like to bring back those versions of the heroes every once in a while. We've got Onslaught Unleashed. So this takes place in the 616, and you know, it's just the monster Onslaught, and regular heroes have to fight them. Issue 1 there through issue 4. Steve Rogers, back during his period, he had lost the the super soldier serum, had lost its effects, so he had turned into an old man, and so that's when he had originally given the shield to Sam Wilson, and then while Sam was Captain America, Steve kind of got his youth back, but he didn't want to be, you know, a takesy-backsy, so he just became super soldier there for a while. No takesy-backsies. From the original, we have Onslaught X-Men, you know, again showing more just X-Men fighting Onslaught. Very similar covers. Here. Alright, then we go to, this was Open Space, a Wizard Zero. This is, I believe, a reprint of a story that Alex Ross had done for some magazine, some you know, anthology magazine, I believe called Open Space at Marvel. So I believe they, you know, it came out, and then Wizard did took that one story and reprinted it or something along those lines. We've got Oracle, The Cure, not the band, The Cure, during the Battle for the Cowl when everybody thought Batman was dead. You know, the hint, you know, we were led to believe this was going to, you know, lead to her getting out of the wheelchair, but it actually does not. Issue 1, it's just a big fight with a villain there. So the Order. So one of the previous Defenders series had made it to issue 12, and in the issue 12 then something had happened, and our heroes became not so great, not so good, and so they changed their name to the Order. And so this is, you got a little 13 in there, but this is the Order 1, and this kind of continues that story under that new title. So there you go, issue 1 through issue 6, with all the heroes getting together to stop the Order. Then we have a completely different Order. So during the initiative, this was when all, again, I think I mentioned earlier, all the heroes were registered and organized, and so this was a team, I think in California, that it was, you know, put together, and for you know, superheroing together under controlled leadership, and that sort of thing. Issue 1 is pretty good. I always thought she was cute. Through issue 5, Matt Fraction of Hawkeye fame doing the writing. And that continues in issue 6 through issue 10. 10. That's when it ends. Then we get to a well-known book, Origin. So up until this is the features the origin of Wolverine. So when Wolverine was created, or when we first meet him, he doesn't remember a lot of his past. He doesn't really, remember his childhood or anything like that. He just has spotty memory. Then we get to Marvel Comics Presents, the Weapon X story there, and that is when we are first introduced to the idea of the process he went through, where he was given the adamantium, and even I think then the assumption, the way the story played out, was that the claws were given to him at that point. But we still went years and years without really knowing anything about his childhood or whatever. And so, Origin was the story of where he comes from. There's some twists and turns in terms of who his daddy is, and some things like that. So, and it's interesting that the word Wolverine or Logan, neither of them show up in here. It's just Origin. So, issue 1 through issue 6, right there. Then we have the original E-Man. So E-Man is a superhero. He's kind of an energy-based. He's very similar to Plastic Man, except he's like energy-based instead of matter-based. And he had appeared, I believe, in some Charlton comics and then later First Comics was able to reprint those stories, and so that's with some new covers and things like that. So that's what we've got here. We've got original E-Man number 1 through 3 here. Lots of humor. Very similar in that way to Plastic Man, issue 4. Through issue 7. Right there. Eventually something Nova. Eventually she gets powers like his. We get the original Ghost Rider. So it's the 90s, and Ghost Rider has become a big deal again, and so the original Ghost Rider is just a reprinting from the first series stories, I think 2 at a time, and I think the reason I started with issue 3 is I've got Essential Ghost Rider books 1 and 2, and I think that when you do that, you get caught up with what's reprinted in issue 2 of this. So then this kind of carries on from there. So that's issue 3 through 5. Kevin Maguire cover on that, and then apparently that did so well that they continued to reprint stories from the original, from the previous Ghost Rider series. Issue 1. Each one had 2 reprints in it through issue 7, right there. Then we've got Original Sin 0. So there's a bit of a murder mystery. The Watcher who's a uber powerful alien who watches the Earth and observes and is not supposed to interfere, but sometimes he does. And he is murdered. And because he has seen so many things, there's a moment when there's a flash of energy, and people, all the superheroes, learn secrets that they previously didn't know about each other and that sort of thing. So those are their, quote, original sins. So that's where we are with Original Sin. So it starts with a 0 issue right there. We've got issue 1. Oops, it's not bagged very well. Through issue 4. So along the way, this is not the order they came out in. You know, see, like 3.1, they told very specific stories, and I think, for example, we find out that Tony Stark had something to do with the gamma bomb going off, and Bruce Banner becoming the Hulk or something along those lines. Something that's never been mentioned since, basically. That's issue 1 of the Hulk versus Iron Man, like 3.1. It's kind of, the numbering's kind of wonky, but right there through issue 4. And then I believe Thor and Loki. So I believe this is the event where they bring in Angela or we learn more about Angela anyway, and where she comes from, as in the sense of her being a character in the Marvel Universe. She had previously been created by Neil Gaiman and used over in Spawn, and then he retained owner. Long story short, he I believe retained ownership, and then sold the ownership of Angela to Marvel or something like that. It's very a convoluted story, but Angela is now a Marvel character. So Thor and Loki, the 10th Realm, Original Sin, and that runs through issue 5 right there. A little bit reminiscent of the Hela story from Thor Ragnarok, the movie. Forgotten children and things like that. Alright, and then it continues in the main series. It continues in issue 5 and ends in issue 8. Final Judgment. The rest of the Watchers showing up. Why'd you kill our brother? There was an annual along the way. We were introduced to a new character who, I believe the idea was he was the first line of defense against alien attacks on Earth, and we just never knew it. We never knew he was out there doing it, that kind of thing. There. And that was sufficiently popular. It was followed up with Original Sins. I believe this was just a bunch of anthology of different stories, again with the heroes kind of finding out things about their past. It's Deathlock, the Young Avengers, and Lockjaw in this issue, and then Nick Fury, the Young Avengers, and everybody else here in issue 5, including the Hood right there. We have a one-shot. I don't know why this exists, but it's the Original X-Men. Just a one-shot called the Original X-Men. Features the Original X-Men. Don't know what was going on there. Then we have Orion. So Orion is part of the New Gods, and he is the son of Darkseid. Darkseid and Highfather of New Genesis traded sons and a way of ensuring peace between the two realms. From a nature point of view, Orion is a fierce individual, but by nurture, he is, tries to be taught to be gentle and loving, as it were. But he is still a badass fighter guy. And he, Walter Simonson, clearly comes on and wants to try to revitalize the New Gods. And so here we go. So we got issue 1 through issue 8. There. Issue 9. Mantis. Through issue 12, and I do not have a full run of this. Tales of the New Gods by Jim Lee and Scott Williams, so that's got backup story by Jim Lee on there. There's a bit of a skip. It's on the list to be bought. 17 through 20. And 21. Not looking good for Orion. Through 25. Mr. Miracle being scot-free, being the previously mentioned son of Highfather, who was raised on Apocalypse. And he escaped and became an escape artist and superhero. Issue 25. Alright, then we go Ororo, Before the Storm. So a little flashback tale to Storm of the X-Men when she was a little girl growing up in Africa, living on the streets. She was a little street thief, and some adventures she has there. Issue 1. Through issue 4. We have Outlawed, one shot. So there's yet another incident where superheroes do a lot of damage and people get hurt or almost get hurt, and so everybody declares that superheroes need to be registered and controlled. In this case, though, it's only the underage heroes, and so the underage heroes, among them Nova, Ms. Marvel, and Miles Morales, Spider-Man, decide to fight back and not be outlawed, as the title goes. DC did this series called Outlaws, kind of it's a Robin Hood in a post-apocalyptic future, basically, and that says it all. Michael Jan Friedman and Luke McDonnell doing this series, issue 1 through issue 8. There. I just grabbed this. This is Out of the Vortex, one of these comics' greatest world series. Aliens doing weird stuff. I don't know. I don't remember what happened. And that brings us to the Outsiders. So, around, what was it, 83? The DC implements Batman and the Outsiders. Batman leaves the Justice League and he forms his own team of tightly knit superheroes, and they become Batman and the Outsiders, and that runs for a while, and then the rest of the Outsiders eventually get fed up with Batman's stuff and venture out on their own and move to California. And In the real world, the series runs as Batman and the Outsiders for a while. Then this Outsiders series starts running in direct sales only, in comic book shops only. The newsstand version becomes Adventures of the Outsiders. Adventures of the Outsiders runs for a little while, and then it starts reprinting the stories that had appeared here, and then at some point it gets canceled. So this is the direct sales, the comic shop only version. You can kind of tell by the lack of a UPC here. But Jim Aparo doing art on this as well, with Looker and Halo and Katana and Metamorpho and Black Lightning, Geoforce. It's issue 1 through issue 4. There. Issue 5. Doing some Christmas stuff. Through issue 8. There. Issue 9. There. Issue 12. And issue 13. Through issue 16. Firefly, who is an interesting situation. So DC had 2 villains. I tell this story all the time. DC had 2 villains: Firefly, who shot just light, and Firebug, who was a fire-based, set fires. So then, after the crisis, they decide to, they need a fire, for some story, they need a villain to set things on fire. So they pick Firefly, which was always weird to me because they had Firebug they could have used, but instead they changed Firefly. So the guy that you see sometimes, in more modern Batman comics setting fires with this flame gun, that's Firefly, and that's this guy. In this previous version. But anyway, that is all we have for this box. Okay, so that was 119. Next time, of course, we'll do 120. We will finish up Outsiders. We will get into a couple of other O's, and then we finish those up, and we will get into some Paradise X, some Peacemaker, some Peter Cannon, some Peter Parker, and make our way to, more specifically, Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. So we're about to re-enter Spider-Man City, so it's going to be a good time. Hope you'll be here for that. In the meantime, I hope you have a great day.